I enjoy the process. I think so much of this is I want to get through meetings. I want to get through April meetings with the coaches. I want to get through our 30 visits. We get to bring 30 guys in before the draft, so we're not even halfway there with those visits. So I think the lead up to the draft, maybe the week before the draft, is when you really hone in on the plan. But I'm enjoying this process.
Are you counting? If you are, I know you are. If you're keeping score at home, Gibby. We are 3 weeks away from the NFL's annual selection meeting, otherwise known as the 2025 NFL Draft. And with that, we welcome you into another edition of BPA, the best podcast available at the home office, back from the annual meeting. Not the owners' meeting, it's the annual meeting. Back from the annual meeting here. I'm at the home office. That was in Florida. Gibby is building an ark outside the cross-country mortgage campus with awful storms in Northeast Ohio. Gibby, are you okay?
I'm great. I got in here before the rain started.
Yeah?
It's good. Now, getting to my car and then getting home, I've been told by numerous people is going to be a little bit of an adventure today.
Okay.
A lot of roads flooded out and a lot of things. If you're in the Cleveland area and watching this or listening to this, make sure you just take your time getting around town here for the next 24 to 36 hours, and then some, because it sounds like this rainmaker might go through the weekend.
2 hands on the wheel. Please be safe, and I'm not joking there. Definitely. If you are actually building Noah's Ark, you need 2 dogs on that ark, of course, as they go 2 by 2 onto the ark to get the heck out of Northeast Ohio, or just stay there, please.
I'm good with 4 dogs and no cats. I'm not a big cat guy.
Do you have 4 dogs at home?
No, but I mean, I'm just saying. Like if I were
okay, I see.
Two of everything.
Lieu of cats,
can I
give me
eliminate
2
the cats
dogs
and just take the dogs?
Brief aside, I'm the same way, by the way, with the cats. Somebody on social media, I don't even remember the guy's name, but took a shot at me recently, and I looked at his avatar, his profile, because I was stuck in traffic, I had nothing better to do, and it was just a picture of a cat. And I rarely ever clap back. Matter of fact, I don't clap back. Friends, kids, like if you're on social media, just step away. There's no need to clap back. But I saw the guy's picture, his profile picture was just a cat. And I almost, but I didn't. I almost answered, "You're a cat. Like your picture is a cat, dude." But it's not worth going there. There's a reason that the other pod we do, the Bark Tank, there's a reason we're the dogs, right? There's a reason there's a dog pound. Because dogs are better than cats. And there really is no debate. Matter of fact, I won't allow you to debate it. People say, oh, that's debatable. This is not debatable. Period. Full stop. I've already eaten 2 minutes over time. All right, let's get Gibby to the annual meeting. There's a lot to take from the annual meeting. Kevin Stefanski spoke. We will speak to Coach coming up later in this episode. Andrew Berry spoke as well. And Jimmy and D. Haslam ownership spoke as well. There are headline-grabbing comments from Jimmy about the trade, from Jimmy Haslam about the Deshaun Watson trade, about the swing and the miss. My 2 cents, though, on this, and I said this on CBD earlier in the week, is that they need some context after these swing and a miss comments, which no one can debate right now, and it is refreshing to hear that, obviously, and the accountability part of it as well. Or, hey, listen, one of the reasons it hasn't worked is because of the 3 major injuries. Deshaun is hard at work trying to get back healthy. We see it on his Instagram. But the 2 Achilles injuries and the shoulder injury in 2023 is a big reason that you classify it, Gibby, as a swing and a miss. But then you move forward and you look at the 2nd overall pick. I want people to wrap their head around the fact that it may not be a quarterback. We've been telling you for a while it may not be a quarterback, and that was my one big takeaway. It may not be a quarterback, but they have to find a way to fix the quarterback, and it might be at 33. It might be somewhere else in the draft, or wrap your head around it. It may not be in this draft. Give me that you find a long-term solution.
From Jimmy Haslam at the league meetings on Monday, in his meeting with the beat writers and the media that covered this football team, quote, I think the message is if the right person's there, we're going to take him. If not, we'll figure it out for a year or 2 until we get the right person. And I just keep saying we need good football players. There's good football players in this draft, and we've got to make sure we get the right ones for us. He talked about obviously needing to nail this 2nd pick. and taking care of it and getting the right guys and right players in here, not just on Thursday night, but on Friday night and then on Saturday afternoon. And there is a lot of talent. And as we get closer to the draft, we'll go through some of the positions strength-wise from top to bottom. There's a lot of depth in positions that we need in addition to the quarterback. So I understand where he's coming from. I hope that you at least take one sooner rather than later in this year's draft, depending on what happens.
Absolutely. And it might be with the 33rd pick. It might be with the trade back into the first round to get that 5th year or to get ahead of a team that may be taking the quarterback that you like. Aaron Rodgers is a key part in this. As we sit here and record it on Wednesday afternoon, 22 days before the draft, the Steelers don't have a quarterback. Now, if Aaron Rodgers goes there, you'd have to think they're out of the quarterback market at 21. But if they don't get Rodgers, if he decides to sit and take phone calls on FaceTime audio in his house in Malibu, then they may have to take a quarterback at 21. How does that affect the Browns? It'll be fascinating once we get to the draft. But Aaron Rodgers' clarity, I think, would help a lot. Just keep your mind open to the idea that it is not quarterback at 2. Andrew Berry spoke on Sunday. Sadly, I had a travel nightmare on Sunday. I got there safely, but I was not there in time for AB's presser. Obviously, I've listened to and watched the entire thing. The headline for a lot of people, Gibbe, is, hey, we're unlikely, his words, AB's words, to trade up. A number of reasons. This is my analysis. First of all, it's going to cost. So you've got to truly love the player, and you'd have to assume the player is Cam Ward to actually give up the assets. But number two, I think the Titans don't want to get out. And I think they love Cam Ward. And for them to get out, it will cost you an arm and a leg. It'll cost you the entire Noah's Ark, if we'll go back to that. And there has never been a trade 2-1, ever in the history of the NFL draft. So there's no real precedent. It's going to cost at least next year's one. The idea that you could just flip them a third and they'll do it is not going to work. The only way that works, Gibby, is if the Titans are bluffing, they don't want Cam Ward, and when they are on the clock, they will literally take anything because it's, a profit one way or the other and move down to 2. But I don't think that's the case.
Yeah, I go back and forth because I don't know what the value is. Like you said, it's never happened. So I find it hard to believe it would happen. And unless Andrew Berry is steering us down a different direction, it doesn't sound like this football team has an interest in moving up to number 1. If anything, they're going to stand pat at 2, see what happens, or maybe they're going to move back. To how many spots are they going to move back? I don't really know, but I mean, I think all the options are on the table, including just staying at number 2, seeing what Tennessee does, and making a pick on Thursday night.
The only scenario in which the Browns move up to 1 is this. The Titans are bluffing. They really don't want Cam Ward. And when they are on the clock, they let it be known to the Browns or the Giants or really whomever, all right, we'll get out. Who's got the best offer?
And that could happen right at 8:10, I believe, when Tennessee goes on the clock.
I don't think that is a likely scenario, but it is a scenario. Also a scenario, the Browns go get a veteran quarterback. There's really only one guy left, assuming it's not Aaron Rodgers, and the Steelers are the only option for him. That one guy is the guy that went to Chipotle and got double chicken with salad. That guy. He was in a Westlake Chipotle.
He was here. I did not. I wanted to poke fun. I thought AI, or I thought someone was having a great old time last week, given all the other things that we had heard and talked about, but he was indeed here. Now, obviously, no contact with the Browns, and the Browns had no contact with him because the rules forbid it. But he was in Cleveland.
Andrew Berry made it be known that he was there for reasons other than the Browns. I don't know what those reasons are. Maybe he thinks he's going to eventually be with the Browns, and he hired a realtor or pulled up Redfin on his phone and just wanted to wander around.
Maybe he wanted to cower home in Strongsville. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah. just randomly check out the West Side. Why not?
Sure.
It's lovely this time
The
of
West
year.
is the
Obviously,
best.
it is.
That's all.
I'm an East Side guy personally, but
Well, we can't be perfect.
well, that's where my family is. I understand that, but I will say this season I got to spend a lot more time on the West Side, kind of opened my eyes, and I see your opinion there. I mean, I
My
you know what?
father
I
grew up
could
on
see
the
it,
East Side, so yeah, I just
as did
I
mine.
like to do some friendly ribbing when it comes to that.
And I totally get it. I think I'll say it out loud. This is a team platform. I think Kirk Cousins is an option. I do think he's an option, and I do think that can happen. I can also tell you from conversations that I have had with people around the league, Kirk Cousins would really like to know if he's going to a team that's going to draft a rookie quarterback high with the intent to play that rookie quarterback, because he doesn't want to have happen this year what happened last year, where he got penixed, where the Falcons drafted a quarterback in the top 10 and eventually handed him the keys. He doesn't want to do that. You understand why he doesn't want to be in that situation. The other side of it is, once we get to and through the draft, there may not be any other situation left. And if he wants to play, it may have to be here. Clearly, we've gone over, and you know this if you're a listener and a fan, that Kevin Stefanski and Kirk Cousins have a history together in Minnesota. And I think Kirk Cousins can play. Not a slam of Kenny Pickett, but I'd rather have Kirk Cousins right now. Kenny Pickett's a darn good second option with a guy with 25 career starts and still a young guy on an affordable contract. That might be the quarterback room. You also have to ask aloud, Gibby, hey, if the Browns were to draft a quarterback in the 3rd or 4th round with less pressure to play immediately, would Cousins still be amenable? Those are answers that I don't know, but those are the questions that will be asked as we get to the draft.
Yeah, it's going to be fascinating to see. I mean, it's clear that I wouldn't expect anything with Cousins to happen till after the draft, and maybe the biggest competitor for the Browns for Kirk Cousins, if it becomes that, could be the team that's 90 minutes east of us.
Can you imagine that?
No, thank you.
I mean, Gibby's a big Steeler fan. I kid. CBD inside joke.
Lots of funny jokes.
Funny jokes. Let me say this, too, as well. And this is just my 2 cents to Browns fans. I know this sounds odd, but I would root for Aaron Rodgers to the Steelers if I'm a Browns fan. I would want that to happen because it takes some uncertainty out of draft night. If the Steelers get Aaron Rodgers, you would have to think, and I would never say never after what happened in Atlanta, obviously, last year, but you would have to think the Steelers are out of the quarterback game at 21. And now they're not the only team in the second half of the draft that could take a quarterback, but it changes things. And with the Browns picking 33, the number 1 pick on day 2, top of the 2nd, taking a team with a glaring quarterback need off the board 12 picks earlier would be good for the Browns.
Yes.
It doesn't ensure they get their guy if they want a guy at 33, but it would be beneficial. So I would say if you're a Browns fan, you would want Aaron Rodgers to go to Pittsburgh. Do you buy that?
Yes. And I would also say there's a lot of drama, and is that juice worth the squeeze if you're the Squealers? I don't really have an answer, but fine. I'm great with him going there if it all falls apart the way it did in New York. That's where I'm at. That's right.
Can you imagine a Kirk Cousins, Aaron Rodgers, Browns, Steelers game?
No.
Is it No Country for Old Men? I mean, why not?
I love it.
I'm older than them both, so easy for me to say I'm in. Sign me up.
We're older than both of them.
We collectively, yeah. Also coming out, look, there are a lot of little headlines there. The door is open clearly for Nick Chubb. I kind of have a gut feeling he might be back, but it might be a later in the summer thing. Don't know. Still no real answer rather on JOK.
Yeah, I don't like
know that. Not optimistic there. At least I would love to have heard brighter news. There's stadium news there, obviously. Mr. Haslam talking about the end of June, obviously, in state funding and potentially moving to Plan B, which would be renovation on the lakefront. That's above my pay grade, but that news, obviously, as well, came out of the annual meeting. And Kevin confirmed what we caught a whiff of back in Indianapolis that the Browns, well, we did know 2 road games in the preseason, only 1 at home. It was the opposite last year, so it flips this year. So those 2 road games are going to be Carolina and Philly, and joint practices with them both. So joint practices on the road in Carolina, on the road at Philadelphia. Been down that road before, and no Greenbrier trip. Gibby, sorry.
I'm all right. My golf game didn't get any better from playing down there as it did up here. So it is what it is. I would say this. I like the joint practices, especially because it forces us to get into pads and go against someone else.
Yeah.
I like how it breaks it up. And I think, if you're Kevin Stefanski, you're replacing 10 days where the team went to the Greenbrier, but it was about team camaraderie and building the team and being away from noise and distraction and everything like that. I mean, you're essentially going to be on the road. You got to think, we did the math the other day in the studio, 9 days on the road with these 2 trips. So, I mean, you're going to be away for 9. You were away for 10 at the Greenbrier. Yeah. So I think that I think it still gets done what coach wants to do. And it gets you going against another team to really see where you are at and what you need to work on in advance of week 1.
And the Greenbrier news was actually news out of the combine. Kevin said it then. The joint practices against these 2 teams, the Panthers and the Eagles, is the new news, as they would say, on New Heights. One of them will be 1 day. The other will be 2 days. 2-day joint practices, I'm not always a big fan of because day 2 is when the fights happen. Right? Day 1, usually a good day of work. Day 2, fingers crossed that we get through this okay. But those are the 2 preseason head-to-heads, if you will, the Panthers and the Eagles. And then it looks like home game week 3 to round out.
That means we're not going to Seattle for a 7 p.m. local time kick.
Oh, my gosh. I felt so bad for you guys.
Let's think about that. 10 o'clock East Coast for a preseason game.
No one to blame there for the Browns. I mean, the Seahawks wanted that game at night on Saturday evening. Full disclosure, I got off the plane. I think I've told this story. I was doing games for the Rams last year, so we had a noon central kickoff, Rams-Texans in Houston. I was already home, landed, and I was driving home listening to the broadcast. Jim and Nathan and Gerard down to the sideline listening to the broadcast in the first quarter when the game kicked off. That was the final game of the preseason. Everybody else was basically home at that point.
It was awful.
Seattle is lovely, though, but still.
Not that weekend. Did exactly what it is doing outside right now. Now, they're known for their rain, but this was a complete monsoon in Seattle. And much like today. Yeah.
Oof. Anyway, I digress. Hey, there's a lot to get to from the annual meeting as well on the league side, on the rule change side, and all that. But before we do that, I want to set this up. Kevin Stefanski had finished his roundtable with all the writers and all the assembled media there. All the AFC coaches do a Monday morning 7:45 early call where people gather. They call the AFC coaches breakfast. You sit around the table. There really is no breakfast. But Kevin answered all the questions about the draft and the pro days and the this and the that. The Browns will be in Boulder for Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter coming up on Friday, the 4th of April this week. So in 2 days from when we record this now, he had a lot of stuff to do and meetings to get back to. I grabbed Kevin for just a couple of minutes. This is not the definitive 60-minute sit down here, but this was me and Coach on Monday. Kevin, how's the annual meeting and the coaches' breakfast and all the hoopla here treating you?
Well, we're in Palm Beach, Florida, so it can't be very hard down here. As you know, this is we're in paradise. The sun's shining. It's gorgeous. So these are fun because while you're at a beautiful setting, you're also around a lot of your friends, and you get to catch up with a lot of people, coaches, staff, general managers. You get to be around each other and kind of talk shop for a couple days.
This event's always fun as well. Families are here. It's kind of a chill, low-key event. And you've been on the road for a while as well, so it's kind of the culmination or maybe a stomp and all of that. How is the Kevin Stefanski living out of a suitcase, scouting, pro day, private workout thing going?
Yeah, that living out of the suitcase thing is no fun. But, this is part of it, and this is kind of the fun part for us to get around the country, stop at different places and check in on these players and come down here, take a breather here, have my family down here with me, which is great. And that's the other fun part. My kids get to play with a bunch of other kids of some coaches, and it is a nice time to kind of take a breather, if you will.
Do the boys come back to the room and say, "Hey, Dad, I hear we're going to draft so-and-so"?
No, that's a good question. I should probably put them on an intel operation. Do a see if we'll rendezvous at the pool, and they can fill me in on all the things that they found out.
What do you find out when you, A, have the private workouts, B, take these guys to dinner? Because tape is one thing, game film is one thing. This is really an HR process as much as it's a football process.
I think the tape is one thing. It's also the most important thing. How the guy performs playing the game is the most important, but to understand a full picture of the player, you have to get around them, number one, to understand what their makeup is, what their aptitude is, how they work, what they're like on a day-to-day basis. And then also the quarterback, you want to see them throw live. So having been to the Senior Bowl, obviously gone to some pro days, some private workouts, you get a feel for how the ball comes out of their hand. And that's something that's a little bit harder to pick up when you're just watching tape.
Has anyone said anything to rule themselves out? Abdul Carter went to LaSalle, for example, your rival high school. Jalen Milroe is a Raven fan. Maybe somebody had a Chipotle order you didn't like. Has anything come up like that where you're like, no?
No, nothing yet. We're going to take everybody. We're not discriminating for any of these reasons, although that LaSalle thing is hard for me. Yeah. But no, we're not going to discriminate.
I get asked a lot, the Miles interview after he was on the podium where I said, "Do you know the quarterback plan?" And he had that smile, that smirk. So I'll have to ask you, what did you tell him? Anything?
I don't think I can repeat it. I'll hit you offline and we'll tell you, but it's a big, well-known secret.
Okay. Because he was smiling. He was happy.
Yeah, there's a lot of, it's silly season, so there's a lot of looking at people's smirks and looking at their body language and maybe what words they've used and kind of move them all around and see if we're sending a message. It's kind of like a subliminal message that we're sending to everybody. But it's all right there. You just got to look hard.
Last thing. AB said in Mobile how impatient he was. Naturally, we all want the draft here, right? What has this process been like for you, and are you equally impatient, and can the 24th get here fast enough?
Yeah, I enjoy the process. I think so much of this is I want to get through meetings. I want to get through April meetings with the coaches. I want to get through our 30 visits. We get to bring 30 guys in before the draft, so we're not even halfway there with those visits. So I think the lead up to the draft, maybe the week before the draft, is when you really hone in on the plan. But I'm enjoying this process.
Okay, and you're not mocking the mocks yet.
Not mocking the mocks. You won't find me doing any simulations in the mock draft world. I'm not opposed to it. I respect everybody that does it. But for us, it's really, we do look at all of them and then understanding there are some mocks that are better than others.
Kevin, enjoy your time at the annual meeting. Enjoy the road show, and maybe see you in Boulder in a couple days.
Thanks, Andrew.
All right, I think there's a distinction there about the pro days and what you learn and what you can get in the private workout. Private workouts are always more important to me. Here's my analogy. Would you rather hire somebody at a college job fair, or would you rather have a one-on-one interview? Pro days have value, but please don't get caught up in this sports radio nonsense that if you don't go to a pro day, you're not doing your job. One-on-one interviews are, to me, far more important, and you get those one-on-one interviews this week in Colorado. After that, behind the scenes, Kevin went over to talk to my good friend Kevin Clark, Omaha on ESPN, and that's where they did the Pearl Jam interview that a lot of you have seen, and Ryan Fitzpatrick commented on Kevin's fantastic beard. Gibby, also,
we're getting there. I
you
let
got
it go.
the beard
And
going
then,
in there.
I'm debating it. We'll see. I give it another few weeks, and then the warmer, maybe if it ever warms up, then I'll get rid of it because it starts to itch, and I hate that. So
yeah, I hate that too. Kevin also weighed in on the debate right before he and I were talking on the tush push, and he said he supports it. Go ahead. There's no need to ban it. Don't ban it. Just stop it. Don't try to ban it because you can't stop it. So he was one of the coaches that said, I am fine with it. An informal poll of those in the room on Tuesday tell you that it was right down the middle. 16-16 on quote-unquote banning the tush push.
And don't you need 24 to?
You need 24.
Got it.
You need 3/4. When a vote is tabled, put your tush on the table. The tush push got tabled. That generally means, and this isn't always the case, but it generally means, hey, this is going to go through. We just need to whip a couple of more votes, and let's talk about it next time. The next league meeting, the spring meeting, is May 20 and 21 in Minneapolis. I think it's going to pass. Now, I'm not going to tell you, go bet your mortgage on it, but my gut tells me, Gibby, hearing what the commissioner had to say on Tuesday and what Rich McKay had to say on Tuesday, when you ever hear the health and safety aspect brought into it, I think, and it might be a challenge to whip those 8 votes, but I think this is going to pass. And I think there's a very good chance that we have seen the end of the pushing of the tush.
I'll be honest with you. I think you should be rewarding coaches that come up with innovative ways to move the football. And I think that Philly has found that way. They've been highly successful at it. If you want to beat them, stop it. And I just, the health and safety thing, I don't know if I buy. Is there any proof?
No, right now there is not.
Exactly. So I think you keep the tush push. It drives me crazy. I hate playing against it. This past year when we were in Philadelphia, how many times they go for it with the tush push? 3 or 4 times on 4th down. Mm-hmm. And it was maddening not being able to stop it. But it works. It's successful.
A lot of Eagles fans want to say this is Philly against the world. I don't think it is. I think there are bigger things at play here. And I'm with you. I don't think it should be banned. But the health and safety issue isn't necessarily stopping Jalen Hurts on the goal line. The health and safety issue is everything that the tush push has kind of led to. So go back to when we were kids, so pre-2005. You couldn't carry the ball carrier. You couldn't push the running back. You just couldn't do that. Like if a running back got stopped on the 5-yard line, if William Green got stopped on the 5-yard line, Sean O'Hara can't come behind him and shove him in the back and push him into the end zone. That was illegal. You just couldn't do that. It wasn't part of the game. And then the rule was changed, and it took 15 years for someone to really master the art of it. But the Eagles did that to their credit. And it isn't necessarily for me the health and safety, or at least for the league, I don't think. The health and safety right there on the line of scrimmage. It's about all the other plays. So let's use the Eagles as an example. Jalen Hurts throws a 10-yard hitch to Devontae Smith near the sideline. What prevents the DB from picking up Devontae Smith and carrying him back 5 yards? Well, they'll blow the whistle. They'll say forward progress has been stopped. Well, why is the rule different there for the defender trying to carry the ball carrier than it is for the offense trying to carry the ball carrier? It shouldn't be different. And there is more likelihood for an injury, say, pushing a running back on the 5-yard line on a long play where the running with a offensive lineman getting a head of steam from 30 yards behind the play and crashing into everybody. More risk of injury there. And they don't know how to make that all work universally across the field, if that makes any sense. And I think that's the curtain from behind which they're going to do this. But I also think that if they do, the Eagles are still going to be good at it. Because if you look at the tush push, not all the plays actually have Jalen Hurts pushed by somebody from behind.
No.
A lot of them, it's just great Jeff Stoutland line coaching. They've mastered it, and he's still going to score. So if they ban it, I don't think it's going to slow the Eagles down.
Yeah, and can't the quarterback squat like 1,000 pounds or
yes.
something? Yes. Like, there's something to be said, using the legs.
I don't think it's going to matter.
I don't either. Can we get an eye in the sky? Can we get some things figured out with that? Can we focus our time on something other than the tush push? I think we can.
You want to do playoff reseeding? You want to hit that? You want to do,
by the way,
no
that
defensive
should
holding?
pass. I am all for playoff reseeding.
See, I'm not.
Yeah, Zagura's not either. Both.
I'm not. Winning your division should truly mean something. You don't think so?
No.
Why?
Because if you get in and you're all right, if you get in and you're a 8-9 team and you win your division, you're rewarded with a home playoff game against a team that's 12-4.
Have you ever seen?
Or 12-5, I should say.
This would be the NBA model, right? Basically, you just see them whoever they finish. So let me ask you this: after watching AFC North Hard Knocks last year, have you ever seen NBA Southeastern Division Hard Knocks? No, because no one knows the divisions. Right? In the NFL, divisions mean something. Those 6 division games mean something. There's a reason that teams that have to go overseas never want to take a division game overseas.
Correct.
Because those games mean something. So to say that those 6 head-to-head rivalry games don't mean as much anymore. Like winning your division doesn't mean as much. I'm sorry, I don't like that.
I mean, that part, okay, I understand. I think it's amazing, like in a year where, and again, if you're lucky enough in a division, you're facing maybe the NFC division that's the worst division in football. And you're able to get 3 or 4 wins just off of that. And you're not necessarily playing the best of the best. You can make the argument, but I believe in rewarding wins and losses and taking care of your business. And I get the divisional side of things, but win your division games. Go win the division. And then you're in the playoffs. And that's bigger than anything else.
2 final thoughts on that. I don't think it's going to pass. It also got tabled. I don't think it's going to pass this year, but I do think that if and when, and I think it is if not when, we get to an 18-game season, I think there's a chance it would pass then, because I think there'd be a concern about, in a longer season, teams fielding competitive rosters and playing to win late in the season if divisions were already decided. I think there's another unspoken side of this, and we actually could tie the Browns to it. If you go back to Week 16 when we got flexed out of Thursday night in Cincinnati, only time that's happened in 2 years, and the Chargers and Broncos win, and that was a great game. At the end, the right decision. There are a lot of what the NFL calls standalone windows in December. Not primetime games necessarily, but standalone games like the Black Friday game on Amazon, or the NFL Network triple header late in the season in December, or the game that we played Week 18, a Saturday ESPN doubleheader the day before the final day of the season. You need good games in those standalone windows. And the thought is kind of under the radar, that if we give teams something to play for, we don't promise them a home game simply for winning the division, that there will be more highly competitive matchups late in the year for those standalone windows. Because late in the year, I won't say they had trouble making the schedule, but I can tell you there was some angst as to where do you put these games. Like, hey, we need a good game in this window for this network. Do we have one?
No, because people at the end of the season were sitting guys. Kansas City didn't play anybody for 3 weeks.
And the thought is, if you told Kansas City, even though you ran away from your division, you still need to fight, because maybe you draw somebody. Now, they're normally in the conversation for the 1 seed, but maybe not. Maybe there's a division which a team ran away from in that year, what is a bad division, and they're going to coast down the stretch because their division's already wrapped up for all intents and purposes. But if you remind that team that, hey, you may have to go on the road, then you get better games, and that would factor more if we go to 18. I think that's the underlying unspoken part of that.
You're welcome, everybody.
Exactly. Anyway, Colorado Pro Day.
Friday.
Everyone, see me in Boulder. I won't be there, but the Browns will be there. It's Kevin Stefanski, as he just told you, living out of a suitcase on his way to Boulder. Travis Hunter, Shedeur Sanders, among others in the spotlight. It is really one of the final check marks here on the path to the draft, as they call it, of the network. But the private workouts still could be happening, and the 30 visits do continue as we march towards the draft.
3 weeks.
Or the draft. 3 weeks, everybody.
3 weeks.
And 3 weeks to remind your friends and neighbors to subscribe and to like and to share this. Best podcast available. That is Jason Gibbs. My name is Andrew Siciliano. We thank you kindly. We'll see you next time. So long, everybody.